It's adventure time. Come on, tell your friends, 'cause there's a game it's adventure time.
Unless you've been living under some form of magical rock for the last few years, you've probably heard of Adventure Time by now. It's a show about Finn, a human, and Jake, his shape-shifting magical dog, and they just, go about and do stuff like you sort of get in TV shows. Despite its success, though, there's not really been much in terms of games to sort of capitalise on its pull with not just children and teenagers, but also adults as well. There's been lots of merchandise and other things, but most of the games have been fairly lacking. There's been a few alright ones on smartphones that can definitely pass a few hours, but nothing really on console or handhelds. The ones that have come out previously have all been sort of top-down dungeon crawlers, which are definitely fun to a degree, but it just felt like there was no way to progress them. It felt like we'd had the best game of this sort of thing that we were going to get. It was time for them to try something new and something 3D almost. And that's what they're doing with Adventure Time Finn and Jake Investigations. It's the first 3D game and it's quite fun. It's by no means perfect, but it's definitely got a sort of charm to it. In the game, you play Finn and Jake as you explore the land of Oo and see its various inhabitants in various situations. And you're basically just trying to solve some mysteries. And how do you solve these mysteries? Well, it's a kind of point and click adventure. And by kind of a point and click adventure, what I mean is it's a point and click adventure. It's not a point and click adventure the whole way through. There are combat elements, but the combat elements are, to put it bluntly, naff. And it would be much better if they just didn't exist, really. You're encouraged to keep doing it to try and build up your loot and everything, but the loot doesn't really seem to get you much apart from the satisfaction that you've done something better than you could have done. And that's not a bad thing, that is just general game making, but from just the transition into combat to the actual combat itself, it just falls flat, and that's a shame considering that the game itself's quite fun when you're exploring and trying to figure things out. The game is split up into various chapters, and each of these are split up into various elements that help make a nice self-contained story, obviously leading to an overarching story in its entirety. It's a good way to mix it up a bit, and so you can have all the characters from Adventure Time that you know and love, from Lemon Grab to Princess Bubblegum to Tree Trunks. They're all here in various ways, and for the most part they all deliver that sort of charming, amusing dialogue that you expect. And the delivery is quite good, and it doesn't seem like many of the voice actors are phoning it in. It does seem, however, that some of the developers may be phoning it in, and that is maybe being a bit too harsh, but there are moments where they just don't bother with lip syncing at all, and when they are bothering with lip syncing, it's hardly making sure it's pinpoint on it, so why they couldn't just keep the mouths moving rather than just having the characters stand there static and doing nothing just seems a bit weird. So is Adventure Time Finn and Jake Investigations a good game? In some ways, yes it is. It's the sort of game that you could play with your young children or just by yourself and have some fun with it, because there is definitely fun to be had if you're an Adventure Time fan. If you're a point and click fan looking for a new point and click game, this probably isn't for you. There's better point and click games out there, and it's hard to really recommend parting with the full recommended retail price to pick this up. But that doesn't mean that it won't find a good home. There's definitely a lot of promise here, and it seems like a perfect gateway to sort of get people into trying out point and click adventures if that's something you've been struggling with your kids, and Adventure Time is a good way for you to bond. Although it's far from perfect, I did have fun playing it. It's a fairly short playtime, probably about 6 to 10 hours on your first go, depending on how quick you are and how much you just try and push through it. Graphically, it's not the most amazing, but it's available on various platforms, including current gen, and although it won't have you in stitches, it will make you smile, and if people do pick it up in the sales, they'll probably have fun with it. But the main thing is, this is a solid base for future work, whereas before it was hard to see where they could go next with the games. With this, you could definitely see where they're going. Hopefully they tone back the combat or find another way to do it in future versions, but I'm hoping Finn and Jake Investigations becomes a reoccurring element of the Adventure Time games. I'd definitely like to see more in the series. I think there's potential there. It's just down to whether or not they're going to stick with it. I imagine after investing money into obviously building the 3D animations and all the assets, they'd want to keep going with it. And considering the lore of this is fairly based around Season 6, there's definitely places they can go and things they can explore with future Adventure Times. Hopefully they can build on the graphics and the other issues and make it a more competent game, but as it stands, it's quite fun, and if you can grab it as a bargain, it's probably worth the gamble, because if you're an Adventure Time fan, you're probably going to have some fun.
When a grouchy bunch of bad guys make trouble for innocent citizens, there's only one detective duo, dynamic enough to save the day.
Finn and Jake Investigations to the rescue!
It's Finn and Jake as you've never seen them. Like, literally.
Are you seeing this?
Shaking down witnesses.
You heard Peppermint Butler getting kidnapped, and you didn't help him? Sounds kind of fishy.
Snooping for clues.
An apple, a jewel, and... Whoa! A lightning sword! Sweet!
And occasionally punting gnomes.
Hey, gnomes! I got something for you!
This fall, grab your gumshoes and get ready.
Look! There's a new case available on the ticker type.
Because it's time for...
Needless destruction. Nice.
Okay, and it's also time for...
Dungeon Train!
Yeah, but it's really time for...
VIP magical bathroom time.
This is getting a little weird, Finn.
Magic Man! It's snack time!
All that and more.
Yeah, boy!
And some sweet loot, too.
In the first Adventure Time adventure game.
Ew, why did you pick that up?
It's an adventure, man. You pretty much have to pick up everything.
Adventure Time, Finn and Jake Investigations, October 2015. Coming to PS4, blah, 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 blah.